What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Hope you guys are all great out there tonight. This is Decoding with Cody, and back here with another live stream breaking down another movie/TV series. And definitely wasn't planning on ever doing a video about The Walking Dead, but when you see a pattern and you see how clear the pattern is, you have to share it. At least that's what my channel's for. This channel is simply to share patterns and to show that there's something more in this reality than just coincidence. So you can chalk this up to coincidence if you'd like. But what I'm about ready to show you is pretty evident. But before we get into the info, thank you for the thumbs up, Coffee Girl. I'm assuming you guys can all hear me. Thank you to Sojourn. Thank you to Shyla. Much love to you, Shyla. Daniel, Isu, Geocentric. Hello to everyone in the chat. Hello, Betty. So, yeah, we're just going to go over this. Again, my mom was watching the new Walking Dead series about Daryl Dixon the other night, and I was like, oh, let me just look into this series a bit, right? And as soon as I started looking into The Walking Dead, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a Charlie Kirk, King Charles show. The whole show is like connected to Charlie Kirk and King Charles. Well, I was like, okay, let me just look deeper. And then once I started looking deeper, what do you know? It seems like the whole show was mystically connected to these characters. And again, The Walking Dead came out in 2010, which of course was like many years before Charlie Kirk or King Charles became king. And before Charlie Kirk was assassinated, so many years before. So the fact that these two characters are so closely tied to this show is very interesting. And we're going to get right into it. I don't want to make this too long of a stream. Thank you to all of the 71 of you in here. I heard about the death of Ace Frehley, and I'll look into that. There's also the death of that rapper, too, that I might look into. But maybe we'll cover that at the end of the stream. But for now, we're going to talk about this Charlie Kirk thing, how it was foreshadowed in The Walking Dead, and then how that connects to King Charles. So if you guys remember when I first did my decodes about Charlie Kirk, I connected it to King Charles, right? And so it's not a coincidence that King Charles is connected to this show as well as Charlie Kirk. And I'm going to show you exactly why. It's pretty clear. All right, so the first and most important thing, and that's pretty clear about Charlie Kirk and this show, is that the show is called The Walking Dead, of course, and it was based off the comic book called The Walking Dead that was written by a guy named Robert Kirkman and Charlie Adlard. Okay, so as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, what's going on here? The series was developed by Frank, and we know we've been talking a lot about Frank the Rabbit from Donnie Darko, so that's interesting. But Frank means Francis, and Francis means free man. And don't forget, Charles also means free man. So again, you have this Francis and Charles code being woven into these shows. Well, again, what are the chances the guys who wrote this comic book are Kirkman and Charlie? Okay, so Charlie Kirk is literally right in the names of the two writers, right? And so here's Robert Kirkman, right, who wrote The Walking Dead. And here's Charlie Kirk, right? If you measure from their birthdays, the days they were born, it's 14 years, 10 months, and 14 days. Which is interesting because, well, that's the day that Charlie Kirk was born. He was born on 10/14. Exactly 14 years, 10 months, and 14 days after Robert Kirkman. And again, it was Robert Kirkman who wrote The Walking Dead with his friend Charlie. Okay. So, I mean, this is nothing, guys. It gets way, way crazier than this, but this is just a start. Now, the last episode of this show was called Rest in Peace. And it was released on Erica Kirk's birthday. Okay. Wow. I mean, you got this connection, and then the last episode is called Rest in Peace. And it was on the wife of Charlie Kirk's, it was on her birthday. Yeah, she would have turned 34 years old on the very last episode of The Walking Dead. So, I mean, come on. What a day. What a day for it to fall on for the last episode. And what a title of what a perfect title for the episode, considering the Charlie Kirk stuff. But Charlie Kirk, he might actually be walking around. He might actually be presumed dead, but he still might be alive walking around somewhere. So maybe Charlie Kirk is walking dead and he's alive on the island Valhalla somewhere. I don't know. He might be walking around like a zombie, you know. Maybe Charlie Kirk's going to play a zombie in the new Walking Dead series and no one's going to know. But so yeah, that it's just another coincidence that this episode released on Erica Kirk's birthday. But here's where it gets crazy. The last episode of the show was called Rest in Peace. It was released on November 20th, Erica Kirk's birthday. And look at the gematria of the episode. Rest in peace. It equals Charles Kirk in 3 out of the 4 base ciphers. And this show had 177 episodes. Well, Charlie Kirk is known for being part of Turning Point. Well, Turning Point equals 177. Like there were 177 episodes in The Walking Dead. So the last episode equals Charles Kirk in 3 out of 4 ciphers. And the last episode was number 177, which is the gematria of Turning Point. Okay. So, and then if we measure, look at this. Now, first, when the Charlie Kirk thing first happened, we talked about this number, 1026, because this is the day that Back to the Future happens. They time travel on 1026. This is also the date that Terminator was released. Joseph's been doing videos about the Terminator. And this was also the day that Donnie Darko released, October 26 or 1026. Well, look at this. If you go from the last episode on Erica Kirk's birthday called Rest in Peace to the actual event of Charlie Kirk, it was 1026 days. Guys, that's the gematria of the words that were written on Charlie Kirk's tent. Prove me wrong equals 1026. And the name of his company, Turning Point USA, equals 1026. So again, this is from Erica Kirk's birthday, which is the last episode of The Walking Dead. And you get this number to the shooting, and that's the gematria of both his company and his saying on his tent. So again, we talked about this 1026 when it first happened. And here you go. But here's where we get into the meat, right? Because when I first did the decodes on Charlie Kirk, I made the connection between King Charles and King James. And why did I do that? Because King James, his name is James Charles. Charlie Kirk's name was Charles James. And I want you guys to notice the name of the show. It's called The WalKIng Dead. The word king is right in the middle of the name of the show, right? So this is all a riddle connected to kings, like the chessboard, guys. The most important piece on the chessboard is the king. And the king is a huge symbol in this world. So Charles James Kirk, like I've already stated, is connected to King James, the Bible, right? And King Charles. So just keep this in mind as we go through, because we have to remember that these guys are all connected with this James Charles thing, okay? and look at this. So I'm going to prove to you that this whole show was scripted around King Charles. And remember, this show came out 12 years before King Charles became king, okay? 12 years. And so anyways, look at this. When King Charles became king, he officially took on the title Charles III. So his gematria, Charles III, equals 177. Now this is the clue right here. Because Charles III equals 177, how many episodes were there in the whole series of The Walking Dead? Yes, that's right. There were 177 episodes. So here is the signature. We're stamping a signature on this whole series by making it 177 episodes. And King Charles, his official title is Charles III, which equals 177. Other things that equal 177, the Jesuit Order, 177. New World Order, 177. So big number. I think solar eclipse or something like that. Total eclipse equals 177. But it is a big number in general. But this is why there's 177 episodes. Okay. And wait, yeah, I see Cindy in the chat talking about Norman. Wait till I get to the Norman connection. You guys are going to be mind blown how deep this goes. Okay. In 2010, right? It started on Halloween in 2010. And King Charles or Prince Charles at that time, was 61 years old, right? And the show ended in 2022 when just after King Charles had turned 74 years old. And so look at the gematria of The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead equals 74 and 61, like Charles Kirk. Again, going back to the Charlie Kirk connection, what is the chance of that, guys? King Charles was 61 when the show started. He was 74 when the show ended. The Walking Dead, 74 and 61, okay? Like Charles Kirk. Now, this show also released, the first episode was on the day with 61 days in the year. So I didn't put that here, and look how many days were between the episodes, the first episode and the last episode. 4,404 days. 444. Interesting number, right? Because 4 is the number of death. Okay? So there was 444 between the first episode and the last episode. And we're talking about a show that's all about dead, right? And the 4 is associated with death in Chinese Mandarin. So, I mean, anyway, The Walking Dead, he was 61 when it started, 74 when it ended. The Walking Dead, 74, 61. And remember, Charles Kirk was shot 600 and this is how I know that Charlie Kirk was a big ritual for King Charles, right? Because Charlie Kirk was shot 666 days after Charles' 75th birthday and 66 days before Charles' 77th birthday. So no matter how you look at it, either way, if you go back 666 days from the shooting, it lands on Charles' birthday. If you go 66 days forward, it lands on Charles' birthday. In gematria, Charles equals 66. I forgot to put that here, but so again, I've already shown this, but this is another important piece. Now here's the catch, guys. Look at this. The Walking Dead, the name of the show, right? The Walking Dead. Look at the gematria in Latin in the most important cipher, I think, in all of gematria. Look at the gematria. The Walking Dead equals 1114. Guys, King Charles was born 1114. So if you didn't think that the 177 episodes, like Charles the Third equals 177, you didn't think the 61 and 74 ages, and then you find out that the gematria of the show equates to his birthday. Look, it's just on top of that, in the satanic cipher, the show was called Rest in Peace, The Walking Dead. That was the last show, right? Rest in Peace, The Walking Dead. That sums to 1114 in satanic. So the last episode, if you combine that with the show, it equals 1114. The show equals 1114. And again, this is his birthday. So, and it gets going to get even better. I'm going to show you, prove to you why they put certain characters in this show to pay tribute to King Charles. Like it's clear. Look at this. The main character who plays the main character in the show is born in London, England. Of course he is. They didn't pick an American guy to play an American character. They had to pick the main character to be born in England. Of course, in London, which is exactly where King Charles was born, of course. And the name of the main character's son in the show is Carl. Why did they name him Carl? Why Carl? Well, remember, if you guys have been following my Charles riddles, the name Charles is the form of Carl. It's so clear, okay? The actor who plays the main character is from London, England, and in the show, his son, his name is Carl, which is Charles. This is a cipher. They're coding it in, so you can clearly see why his name is Carl, right? Carl is Charles, and he's the son, right? Just like Charles was the son who rose to the throne, right? Now, this makes it even more clear. When King Charles became king, this is the big number now we're going to talk about. When he became king, he was 73 years old. Charles became king upon his mother's death in 2022 at the age of 73. He was the oldest person to accede to the British throne. So that means that King Charles took the crown and the kingdom when he was 73. In gematria, crown equals 73, kingdom 73, queen also equals 73. But look at this. This is proof right here. This is like ultimate proof that this show was scripted around King Charles. From the day that King Charles became king to the day that The Walking Dead ended, 73 days, guys. 73. Remember, he became king at 73. 73 days later, on November 20th, Erica Kirk's birthday, right? And the last show and the last episode aired. And look at the date, guys. 11 plus 20 plus 20 plus 22 sums to 73. So whenever you get something like this, you get 73 days after he became king to 73 date numerology. The queen died 73 days before the end of The Walking Dead when queen equals 73, like royalty, like kingdom, like crown. And look at this. Long live the king in reverse reduction, 73. So this whole show is scripted around King Charles. How many more times do I need to prove it? You got the 177 episodes, like his title equals 177. You got the 61 and 74, like The Walking Dead. That's how old he was when it started and ended. You got the title of the show equals his birthday, and the last episode with the show equals his birthday. You got the Carl thing, and the guy who plays the main characters from London, and you got the 73s, right? So here's where we're going to blow this out of the water. So you see these 73s, right? 73 days before The Walking Dead ended, he became king. Look at this. Well, the guy who plays the main character was born in the year 73. In fact, King Charles was born exactly 298 months before Andrew Lincoln. And Andrew Lincoln was born in 73, and they were born 298 months apart. And 1973 is the 298th prime number. And just to reinforce this, from King Charles' birth to the birth of Robert Kirkman, the writer of The Walking Dead, was 10973 days. Not like 1973. I mean, wow. Yeah, there is that connection with Lincoln Tyler, Andrew Lincoln, who was also assassinated. So there's this Charlie Kirk assassination riddle. But yeah, 10973, like 1973, between King Charles and the writer of Walking Dead. And then from King Charles to the star of The Walking Dead, 298 months. 1973 is the 298th prime. Wow. Crazy. And here, so this is what's gonna put it all together right here. In the show, guys, there is a character named King Ezekiel. Okay? King Ezekiel. And he's the ruler of the kingdom in the show. And he has a tiger. And remember, this show with Ezekiel and his tiger, King Ezekiel, came out 8 years or 6 years before King Charles died, or before King Charles became king. Look at the name kingdom and look at the name Ezekiel. Both equal 73. Okay? Remember, from King Charles becoming king to the last episode was 73 days, right? And he was 73 years old when he became king. Look at how perfect this is. This guy, he plays Ezekiel, which equals, and he's ruler of the kingdom in the show, which both equals 73. King Charles became the king in the year of the tiger. And this guy had a tiger. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This was, again, 6 years. 6 years before. Think about that. Out of all animals that you could give to Ezekiel, the king who rules the kingdom, you give him a tiger. You give him a tiger. And then King Charles, 6 years later, would become the king of the kingdom in the year of the tiger. So, like, this should be mind-blowing to people because, again, after everything I've already showed, this is proof on top of proof that this is all about, you know, this tiger thing. Are you guys not mind blown by that? Let me see. What do you guys think of that? Is that a coincidence that Ezekiel the king has a tiger, right? And just for a simple fact of showing this, if you take the name Ezekiel and you take the word kingdom, look at this. Look at the gematria of Ezekiel and kingdom. It's exactly a 4 out of 4 match. Look at that. But the 73 is the most important because this is the number, this is the age. Yeah, I already showed that crown equals 73. I had here's my whole slide right here. 73 days after he became king at 73, the last episode on 73 date numerology. Crown equals 73, kingdom 73, royalty 73, queen 73. Long live the king 73. Okay? But it's not even just that, guys. Look at the actor Look at the actor who plays King Ezekiel in the show, Carrie Payton. And Carrie Payton was born on May 16th. And King Charles became king 116 days after the actor's birthday. And look at the gematria of Ezekiel and kingdom. Again, in the show, Ezekiel, the king, rules the kingdom. That's the name of the group, the kingdom. And both Ezekiel and kingdom equals 116. And King Charles became the king 116 days after Ezekiel's birthday, the actor, right? How perfect again. Now, this is also the big clue. Who was the wife of King Ezekiel in the show? It was Carol. Guys, if you've been following my Charles code, you know that Carol is a form of Charles. So, of course, they would stick the woman Carol with King Ezekiel, right? Because you had to get that Charles connection in there. Yes, King Ezekiel's wife in The Walking Dead is Carol. They were married after the war against the Saviors and were referred to as the king and queen of the kingdom. So Carol is Charles, right? And this is King Ezekiel, which I already made the connection to, right? So why is this? Think about it, guys. We have in this show, we have the guy who wrote the show was Charlie, right? The main character's son's name is Carl, which is Charles. The king's wife is Carol, which is Charles. Okay, I mean, why so many Carols and Carls? Why? Because of it's all about Charles. Okay, that's what it's about. Now, Carol in the show, these two are like the most popular characters in the show, even though Andrew Lincoln or Rick Grimes, he was like the main character. The most famous characters in the show really was Daryl Dixon and Carol. They were very close in the show, all right? And so there was a spin-off series of the original show, and it was called Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol. Okay, Carol is Charles, okay? The Book of Charles. You might as well read that, The Book of Charles. That's why you might just read it like that, right? But look at the gematria of the Book of Carol. It equals United Kingdom in 3 out of 4 ciphers. This is where it's going to get really crazy, guys. This guy right here, Daryl Dixon, played by Norman Reedus, this is going to get absolutely insane how this guy is connected to Mr. King Charles. So, again, just to reiterate, Norman Reedus, who played Daryl Dixon, this guy right here, the most popular character in the show, he was close with Carol, like Charles, right? Look at this, guys. The character Daryl Dixon is played by the actor Norman Reedus. He was portrayed the character since the introduction in the AMC original series, The Walking Dead, and continues to star in the spin-off, The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon. Look at that. Norman Reedus is a 3-cipher match to Charles III. And it's going to get way better than that. If you guys think the gematria is crazy, wait till you understand the meaning of the name Norman Reedus. So first of all, just let that sink in for a second. A 3-cipher match to Norman Reedus. Okay? now wait for it. Wait, here it is. Here's the big reveal right here. If there's one slide you want to share with a friend, or if there's a couple slides you want to share, it's these. Look at this. So not only do they have matching gematria, the name Norman Reedus is a code. His name is, how many people have you met with the name Norman Reedus, first of all? I mean, how many people have this name? Probably not many. Look at this. Norman, first of all, we're going to look at his first name, Norman. Guys, King Charles is of Norman blood. Are you kidding me? King Charles III has Norman bloodline, as he is the direct descendant of William the Conqueror, a Norman king. Okay, so you got that, right? But what's his last name, guys? Reedus. What does Reedus mean? Reedus most commonly refers to the last name of American actor Norman Reedus, though it also appears in a surname with English roots meaning red, or possibly describing a person with red hair or a ruddy complexion or a red complexion. Guys, there has been speculation as to why King Charles has a red or ruddy flushed complexion. Are you kidding me? This guy's name is Norman Reedus, like the Norman blood that circulates through the blood, supposedly, of King Charles, and his ruddy complexion, like Reedus, means a person with the ruddy complexion. I mean, can I get some like mind blowns in the chat? Do you understand? Not only does the gematria have a 3 out of 4 cipher match, his name literally connects us right back to the Norman king, who is Charles is a descendant, and the red ruddy complexion. It gets even better though. Look at this. It gets better. The first episode that Mr. Norman Reedus appeared in was the 3rd episode of The Walking Dead. And that episode aired on the King Charles birthday. Are you kidding me? The first episode that Mr. Norman Reedus appeared was the 3rd episode, like King Charles III, and it was on King Charles III's birthday, November 14th, 2010. How much more perfect? And look at who wrote the story of that episode. Yes, it's a guy named Charles. Are you kidding me? On the 3rd episode, like Charles III, on his birthday, and he would be eventually, many years later, 12 years later, he would become the Charles III. This was 12 years before he became Charles III. And it was the 3rd episode on the king's birthday. And the story was by Charles. Not if you go look at all the episodes of The Walking Dead, not all of them are written by Charles. This one is written by Charles for a reason. Now, not only did this happen, did Norman Reedus appear on Charles' birthday, this was King Charles' 62nd birthday. Like crown equals 62, like queen equals 62. But not only was it 62nd birthday, it was his 744th month alive, King Charles. And look at the gematria of The Walking Dead. 744 in 2 ciphers. You're telling me that on the debut of Mr. Norman Reedus, who's a symbol for King Charles, The Walking Dead equals 744. On the premiere of this character, King Charles was exactly 744 months old. And it's not a coincidence because The Walking Dead equals 744 in 2 different methods. And it's just crazy, 12 years before. And look at the name of the episode. It's called Tell It to the Frogs. When I think of frogs, I think of the prince. You know how the princess kisses the frog and makes him a prince, right? And at the time of this episode, King Charles was still prince, right? So why is the name of the episode called Tell It to the Frogs? Well, I think it has something to do with that prince and frog connection. But this is mind-blowing. Absolutely crazy. Again, just to reiterate, Norman Reedus means Norman, like the Norman blood that's supposedly in the bloodline of King Charles. and Redis means red complexion. King Charles is known for his red or ruddy complexion. So Norman Redis equals Charles III in 3 out of 4 ciphers. That just solidifies it, okay? Now, King Charles is a descendant of Norman, King of England. And not only was he a King of England, he was the first Norman King of England. So why do you think they have Norman Redis running around representing King Charles? Well, because it goes back. You got to know your history, guys. Everything that happens in our world is a history lesson, okay? If you know your history, it's all tributes to history, tributes to symbols. King Charles is just a symbol on the world stage. He's nothing special. He's a symbol on the world stage. And that's why the whole show pays tribute to the royalty of King Charles, right? It's a symbol, right? Now, what's crazy is at the very end of the Walking Dead show, Norman Reedus, or Daryl Dixon, he came from the place called the Commonwealth. He leaves the Commonwealth. The last thing that happens in the whole show, The Walking Dead, is they're fighting in the Commonwealth. So I already showed you how there's a character in the show named King Ezekiel, right, who rules over the kingdom. And King Charles became king at 73, like kingdom equals 73, Ezekiel equals 73. Ezekiel has a tiger. King Charles became king in the year of the tiger. So there's that guy. He's a symbol, right? So you have the kingdom in the show, but you also have something called the Commonwealth. Well, if you just look up King Charles, the first thing it says is he's the head of the Commonwealth. I mean, is this just another coincidence? It just happens to be in the show. There's a group called the Commonwealth. And the first thing you see under the name Charles III on Wikipedia is he's the head of the Commonwealth. Right? So, I mean, just another clear. But after Norman Reedus leaves the Commonwealth, at the end of the show, the Walking Dead, he starts a new show, which is the spinoff. And where does he go? After The Walking Dead ends, he leaves the Commonwealth, which is King Charles is the king of the Commonwealth, and he goes overseas. The next show that stars Norman Reedus is overseas. And where does he go? Daryl washes up ashore in France, where the original zombie virus comes from, and struggles to piece together how he got there and why. The series tracks his journey across a broken but resilient France as he hopes to find a way back home. He goes to France. Guys, in the show, they go to a place called Mont Saint-Michel, Normandy. The Normans, again, in the show, they go to an island village in France in Normandy. Norman Reedus, King Charles is a descendant of the Normans, and Norman Reedus goes in his show to France, and he goes to Normandy. The Normans were in France as they were the descendants of the Viking Norsemen who settled in the northwest France and founded the region of Normandy. They converted to Christianity and adopted the French language, creating a unique culture from the mix of the Norse and Gallo-Roman heritage. So he goes back to France, or he goes to France. The only show in the Walking Dead series that takes place overseas, and it has to be Norman Reedus, right? It has to be Daryl Dixon. Why is he the most popular character in the show? Because he is the true symbol of the Normans. Okay, he is the history lesson, in a way. He is the way. His name is Norman Reedus for a reason. Okay, let's just put it that way. He's the history lesson to point us right back to the Normans. Okay, the Vikings, right? Like the kings, the WalKing Dead, the WalKing Dead. Trump is the wall king. So we're gonna talk a little bit about Trump because Trump is obviously tied to this. And look at when the first episode of Daryl Dixon aired. It aired on September 10th. Exactly 2 years before Charles Kirk was shot on September 10th. I mean, come on. They just happened to have this show debut on September 10th. The guy who wrote the show was Kirkman. And Kirkman reminds you of Kirkland, who was shot in Snake Eyes, right? Like on September 10th. Well, that's what we thought, but it was actually September 19th. And look how many days from King Charles becoming king to the start of this show on September 10th. 367 days. That's the 73rd prime. Again, going right back to how King Charles became king 73 days before the show ended, and he became king 73 prime days before the new show started. And again, that's the gematria of long live the king, crown, kingdom, royalty, queen. The last episode was on 73 date numerology. 11 plus 20 plus 20 plus 22 equals 73. The whole thing with Ezekiel in the show, who equals 73, and kingdom. This is the big number, guys, because he became king at 73. And it just so happens that from his becoming king to the new show, Daryl Dixon, 73 prime. And that was on September 10th, like Charlie Kirk. And remember, this all started with me starting talking about Charlie Kirk and how Charlie Kirk, his name is Charles James, like the original king, James Charles. Okay. And then you have King Charles. But yeah, I mean, turning point or Charles Kirk equals rest in peace. The last episode of the show called Rest in Peace. It was the 177th episode. Charles III equals 177. Turning point equals 177. The last episode aired on Erica Kirk's birthday. And again, Kirkman, the writer of the show, 14 years, 10 months, 14 days. So, yeah, I mean, 1114. This is also big, guys. The name of the show literally equals King Charles' birthday, okay? The Walking Dead equals 1114, like his birthday. Now, let's bring up something. Let's talk about Trump now. I don't have any slides on Trump, but let's talk about Donald Trump. Because this year, actually, let me just type in the show The Walking Dead. I'm going to show you something. We're going to use the Satanic cipher and the Latin cipher. So The Walking Dead. Look at this. So I already showed you how the show The Walking Dead equals King Charles' birthday, 1114. But it also equals Donald Trump's birthday. Huh. So the name of the show encodes both Donald Trump and King Charles' birthdays. Trump is all about the walls, right? Like the Wall King. The Wall King dead. Get it? The Wall King dead. Now, it equals 614, like Trump's birthday. And it equals 1114, like King Charles' birthday. Well, remember what happened just after he died? Charles Kirk. Trump and Charles met. Remember this? just after Charlie Kirk was shot, this happened. Okay? Interesting, right? And The Walking Dead is all tied to these two birthdays. Look, Trump's birthday, Charles's birthday. Now, this year, on June 14th, 6/14, no King's Day, King Charles' birthday. Look at this. On 6/14 this year, June 14th this year, the date of King Charles' official birthday celebration known as the Trooping of Color. And that was the same day that they held the No Kings protests. So on Trump's birthday this year, they did the No Kings. This was on both Trump's real birthday, June 14th, and on King Charles' official birthday celebration. So why did it all happen on the same day? And there's more No Kings protests coming up in a few days. So in a few days, on October 18th, more No Kings protests are being slated for October 18th. Interesting. Like Satan falls like lightning on 10/18. Satan is like the king of this world. So it's all a tribute to that biblical connection, right? That biblical connection, 10:18, Luke 10:18. In Revelation 9:11, it says they had a king over them, right? I showed this. Revelation 9:11. So Revelation 9:11, if you take the gematria of the whole verse, they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, and his name in his Greek name is Apollyon. So that whole gematria of that verse, they had a king over them, equals 6/14. This year, on 6/14, you had no kings. And on that day, they celebrated Donald Trump's real birthday and King Charles' celebration birthday. So King Charles is a secondary character, in my opinion, to Donald Trump, because King Charles took Trump's birthday this year as his own celebration. Both of them had their birthdays essentially this year on June 14th. That is the gematria of Revelation 9:11. And then later this year, after that happened, you had Charles Kirk get shot 88 days after Trump's birthday, or 89 days, right? Now let's just take another trip back for a minute. Remember how I told you that Norman Reedus means Norman, like the Normans? So if we look into the Norman history, look at this. The Normans were a population arising in medieval Duchy of Normandy from the intermingling of Norse Viking settlers and West Francia. The Norse settlements in West Francia followed a series of raids on the French northern coast, mainly from what is now Denmark. So remember, and Sweden, right? Remember, Erica Kirk's grandfather was awarded a medal. No, I'm not going to tie in Ace thing. Everyone keeps asking me about the Ace stuff, but I haven't even looked into Ace. I don't know what to tell you guys. I don't really know anything about that death. I don't even really know a lot about the guy himself. I was never a Kiss fan, to be honest. So I don't have anything on Ace right now. I can only tell you that it probably is connected to this Charles stuff, I would say. But just back to this point, really fast. Sweden, Erica Kirk. Remember, the last episode of Walking Dead was on Erica Kirk's birthday. Well, Erica Kirk, her grandfather, received a medal from the king of Sweden named Carl. Okay, Carl. Remember the show, The Walking Dead, the son of the show is Carl. Right here, if I can find it. Yeah, Carl in the show, right? So Erica Kirk, she receives a medal from the king of Sweden, whose name is Carl. Sorry, guys, I had to let the cat out. The cat was digging at the door. Please hit those likes, guys. I have 223. I just don't understand how I can show clear connections and people still will say, well, I don't think this deserves a like at least a like. I'm not asking you for anything else, just that. Like, I mean, I proved to you about 10 different ways, and I probably could have showed you another 20 different ways how this show is connected to King Charles. But I don't need to. I've already proven the point. I don't need to show anymore. But the point is, like, I hit the like button whenever I go to someone's stream. Even if I don't know what they're sharing, I hit the like button. I don't care what they're sharing because I know what they're sharing information. I'm going to like it, right? If it's information that I can learn something from, and if you're not learning anything from this, at least you're learning a history lesson about the Normans, because obviously these Norman people must be pretty important, because it seems like this whole show is kind of connected to the Normans. And maybe that's the people maybe that's the people that are really doing it. And yes, I saw the Pope got a white horse. And remember, we were talking about yesterday. In fact, I'm going to talk about that, actually. The white horse that was given to Pope Leo. I need to talk about that. But anyway, going back to the Normans, notice that the first Norman king of England was William. And now the son of Charles is William. So I have a feeling this is going to come all the way back around. And eventually Prince William is, of course, going to be king, right? So, but one way, real fast with the Normans. Look at this. These settlements were finally legitimized when Rollo, a Scandinavian Viking leader, agreed to swear fealty to King Charles III. Look. So the Normans, in their history, they have a figure whose name is King Charles III, which is the exact name of our king now. King Charles III of West Francia. He ruled from 911 until 9. Look at this. 911 he started ruling, this King Charles. And he was part of the Carolingian dynasty. Again, Carolina, Carol. The whole show, The Walking Dead, is connected to Carol. Carol is another form of Charles. Again, this Charles code is so important, guys. I don't know why they love this Charles code so much, but they love the Charles code. It's all over history. Okay? Charles, all over. Charles was the third, and he was the Norman king. Charles the Simple, I guess, is funny they call him Charles. But if you he has the same gematria, of course, as our current Charles, right? Charles III. But it's a different one. I just find it funny that he started ruling in 9/11, the year 9/11. Wow. Until the year 923. That 923 is a big number too. And look at this. Charles the Fat. There was also a Charles the Fat. Charles the Simple and Charles the Fat. And look at this. Charles the Fat ruled until the year 888. That's funny. So the one Charles, he began ruling in 9/11, the year 9/11, and this Charles, his reign ended in the 888. Charles the Fat. He must have been fat, I guess, huh? Oh, look at that. Charles the Fat does actually equal Daryl Dixon, the character in The Walking Dead. Interesting. 2-cipher match to Daryl Dixon. I bet you there's something with that. Daryl Dixon, that's the name of the character. There's also a Charles the Bald. What's up with all these? So there's Charles the Simple, Charles the Bald, and Charles the Fat. Super interesting, huh? Charles the Simple. Charles the Simple equals Turning Point USA, huh? Interesting. So yeah, look at that. I mean, these are some numbers that I've been seeing a lot, of course. 74 and 88, like Turning Point USA, which of course is Charles Kirk's company. Got the same gematria. I don't know. I mean, that's probably somehow that's probably a code in, but I don't know how to. I don't know anything about this Charles the Simple. But the point is here that the Charles code is all over the place. All right. If you just look for it. Carol, Carl, Charles, Carolina, all these names, you'll see them all over the place. Lots of people with the name Charles in these movies. It's probably because it means free man. But yeah, Robert Kirkman, the writer of The Walking Dead. And there's probably something more here because you have, when he goes to France, he meets all these French people, right? And they think that this young boy is going to be in the show, right? So there's an interesting parallel here. I haven't watched this show. Yeah, I watched the original Walking Dead, but I haven't watched the show. Raise your hand in the chats if you guys have watched any of the Walking Dead shows at all. I just want to see a tally of all the people that have actually even watched this show. I mean, I've watched it, but it's been many years now. I haven't watched it recently. I haven't watched the new one. Let's put it that way. And here's Carl Grimes from the show, right? Charles Grimes. Might as well call him. I mean, I'll give it. The first seasons were good, but it kind of loses interest as it gets, as it goes farther, But I think the Daryl Dixon show is interesting to watch because it's going to pay a lot of tribute to what I just talked about here. All right, so let's talk about let's look into. Let me look into this this white horse. Okay, so guys, we were talking about. I did a whole video about October 15th, which was yesterday. So Pope Leo. So let's go to Vatican News. So here's the story that I do want to talk about. So I was talking about October 15th, right? Yesterday. It had 70 date numerology, right? 70. Pope Leo is 70 years old right now. And when Pope Francis died, it was on 70 date numerology, right? 70 date numerology. Pope Francis died. Pope Leo became 70. Yesterday had 70 date numerology. So we were looking. Oh, look at this. Yesterday was 177 days after the Pope died. I just talked about that number. But yeah, 70s, right? Well, yesterday, Pope Leo, he gets a white horse. Like a pale horse, right? But look at the gematria of white and horse. Look at that. 65, 29, 70, 25. 29, 70, 25. Interesting that there's also... It's interesting that these other words that I typed in for this decode with The Walking Dead also line up. But we're just going to focus on these. I think it has something to do with 3i Atlas. I'm probably going to have a decode on that. I'm looking into that right now. But anyway, yesterday, Pope Leo on 70 date numerology, just like the Pope Francis died on 70, right? He received a white horse. Look at the gematria of white and horse. Perfect match in all ciphers, and they have the 70. So everything that I was talking about in my decode about the 70s and how big that number was, okay? That number is a huge number, the 70. You guys got to go back and watch my my decode from like a week ago about the plane is crashing, that decode. It's all about the 70s. And yesterday we get this 70 coming out, right? The numerology of yesterday. And Pope Leo gets a white horse. I mean, that's pretty ominous, right? Because in the Bible it says the pale horse. And it came from a Polish donor. Polish, like, I mean, it kind of, I'm trying to figure out why the Polish connection is there, but I will say that it probably has something to do with World War because Poland was invaded. I think it's another signal for more war coming at some point in the year of the horse. Remember, next year is the year of the horse. So is the pale horse coming next year in the year of the horse? I mean, we thought 2025 was going to be eventful, but all we got was the death of the Pope and the death of some guy getting shot, supposedly shot in the neck. Also, yeah, that's a good point. Gold is at all-time highs right now. And notice that gold equals 70 in the same cipher as white horse. Gold is currently, if you look at the chart, I'll just pull it up, but I'll show you again because it's pretty wild what gold's doing. Gold, Sun, Leo, right? Leo the lion. But if you look at gold, the price, I mean, this is just wild stuff. If you go on the daily time frame, look at this, guys. Holy moly. Look at that. This is gold. This is a $1 trillion asset that is just absolutely exploding. And it's not a surprise because of the way the economy is. But yeah, just absolutely exploding. And, you know, is this white horse a sign that gold's also going to collapse a bit? I mean, I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but I'm just saying that gold might have a bit of a pullback. Silver is also going up, yes. So that's true value, guys. True value is gold and silver, okay? Not fake cash money, not fake cryptocurrency. True value is really in gold. I mean, it's always been where the value is. So, and gold is the sun, right? And Leo the lion is the sun, right? And he's getting a white horse, which I believe there's a sun god that has horses, right? Let me try to look at this here. Just gonna do a quick search. Sun god that rides horse. Helios, right? Is that what it is? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Helios. So Helios is known for having his chariot of horse. And of course, Leo is the sun, the lion, and the gold is the sun in alchemy. And Helios, of course, is the sun. And interesting that, let's see, his radiant crown, the one above, his animals are the horse, the sun, the chariot, the horse. Of course, this is where we get heliocentrism from. Helios. I don't remember what Helios equals, but interesting. So I mean that there's a lot I could say about that, but yeah, Apollo, again, don't forget Apollo, because Apollo is in the Bible verse, right? He's in the Bible verse about the king over them. They call him Apollyon, right? So Apollo also has that connection, but Apollo does not have a horse. Apollo has a raven, a swan, or a wolf. So these two sun gods have different animals, but Helios has the horse. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking, guys. The 70. Don't forget, Pope Francis died on the 70 numerology, when Francis equals 70, like Vatican equals 70. The word, I think music equals 70. Music 70. So 70 is a very big number, okay? So I don't know. I haven't looked any more into this, but I'm just saying this symbolism of this white horse being given to Pope Leo seems pretty ominous. Let's see how many days this happened before the horse year started. Hold on. So this happened yesterday. The horse year starts on 2/17. $125 days before the horse. Well, that's 5 times 5 times 5. So I don't know how that would fit in, but 125 days. Could also be exactly 8 months or 18 weeks. I mean, yeah, I'll have to look more into it. If anyone else has any ideas about that, please let me know. But it's something I'm glad that somebody reminded me in the chat to bring that up. Now, I mean, people in the chat are wondering about the death of, what's the guy that died? Can somebody remind me? What's the name of him? The guy from Kiss? Can anyone remind me what the name of that guy is? The horse's name was Proton. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. The horse's name was Proton. Well, Proton does equal Catholic. Proton has that 64, has that Israel numbers also, has some kill numbers in there. Ace Frehley. Fraley, I think is how you say it. Ace, huh? Again, I don't know much about this guy. I was never a fan of Kiss, to be honest. I like music, but I never got into Kiss. So let's look at this guy. Ace. Well, is his guitar on fire? No way. Is that really what I'm thinking I'm seeing here? Or is that just an edit? Did he like light his guitars on fire or something? Is that what he's known for? Like I said, I don't know much about him. Yeah, I was just never a big fan of this band. Paul Daniel Ace, the Spaceman Freely. What? My goodness. Paul Daniel Ace, the Spaceman Freely. Okay, well, first of all, his name, he got a nickname, the Spaceman. So are we, is this like an alien connection here? Like, are we about ready to get an alien invasion or something? I mean, we know that's probably going to come at some point. But now you got this guy named Spaceman. Well, that full title is 135. That's a big number that I talk about often. 288. Did he die on the 288 day of the year? When did he die? Oh, he died one day after the 288th day of the year. So he didn't, if he would have died yesterday, it would have been on the 288th day of the year. He was 6660 days old on the moon landing. Good one. Wow, let's look at that. So Freely, April 27, 1951. He was born in 51, like Area 51. Born on April 27th. If you go to the moon landing, the supposed moon landing, which we know is a lie. Oh, wow. I think that's a big part, guys. This might go back to my moon stuff. My killing moon. So he was 666 days old on the moon landing, this guy. And he happened to go by the name the Spaceman. National Aeronautics and Space Administration equals 666. Yep. I'll just bring that up just so people can see. National Aeronautics and Space Administration. You type that in gematria. It equals 666. This guy was 6660 days old on the moon landing. How about that? Fake moon landing. I know Joseph wrote that. Fake moon landing. If you use satanic, is it? Yeah, and in satanic gematria, fake moon landing equals 666. So you got that. How about that? That's just crazy right there. Somebody says there are 288 fallen sparks. This is derived from the line in Genesis 1:2. Cozy, thank you, Cozy. Here's your comment. There are 288 fallen sparks. This is derived from the line in Genesis 1:2. and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water. 288 fallen sparks. Let's just Google search that. The number 288 sparks stems from the dimensions of 72 that descended from the four forms of the name Havia. It is significant that 288 is 4 times 72. Guys, 472. This guy's birthday is 724. The same digits. His full title equals, the full title that Wikipedia gives him, if you type it in, it equals 288. Let's just see. The spaceman, Ace the Spaceman Frehley. Well, spaceman equals 72. 72 times 4 is 288. Huh. The spaceman equals Charles Kirk, or Charlie Kirk. Interesting. Kiss. They do look a bit alienish if you look at the way they dress. You could say but more demonic than alien. The point is I don't know enough about this band, Often, guys, I'm learning as I'm decoding because I usually don't always know a lot about the youngest child of the three. He's the youngest of 3 children, Esther and Carl. Guys, come on. Carl's everywhere, man. Charles. And it's funny because we were talking about the death of Jimmy Page. Me and my friend Wes, we were saying, Jimmy Page, watch out for Jimmy Page. And then this guy goes. So this seems to be connected to our Jimmy Page stuff. Because if you watch my video before this last week, we were talking about how Jimmy Page might go, and instead we get the death of this guitarist. So I'm really wondering how this connects to Jimmy Page and Led Zeppelin, because it says right here, he was always surrounded by music and started playing guitar at 13 with Jimi Hendrix, Albert Lee, Buddy Guy, Jeff Beck, B.B. King, and Led Zeppelin. Frehley's earliest bands included Outrage, The Four Roses, King Kong. Let me just type in his most common name, Ace Frehley. Okay. Well, look at this. Ace Frehley, 88. Like Trump. Interesting. Also, Ace Frehley does equal Charles Kirk, and rest in peace. So it does connect kind of to what I was already talking about today. Check this out. Ace Frehley has a 2-cipher match to Rest in Peace and Charles Kirk. Huh. He died 2 days after Kirk's birthday. If Kirk was not hiding on Valhalla somewhere. But we also have this 65 that keeps coming up a lot, obviously. Look at how Charles Kirk equals rest and peace in multiple ciphers. Um, but yeah, the 88. I mean, remember how Charlie Kirk died 88 days after Trump's birthday? Trump equals 88. Let's see how long after Trump was born. Ooh, man, that would be crazy if this guy was born 2 days later. He would be born, or no, if this guy was born 2 days sooner, he would be born 1776 days after Trump. If he was born 2 days sooner, man, that would be crazy. He was born 1778 days after Trump. Does anyone know what happened in 1778? Off the top of their heads? Because there's got to be a reason that he wasn't born 1776 days after Trump. Instead, he was born 2 days off. So all my smart decoders in the chat, what happened in 1778? What happened? Let me just look up the year 1778. 1778, key events, the signing of the Treaty of the Alliance of the United States and France. Guys, I was just talking about France in my decode. So 7-1's in the chat, I see. 7-1. Make sure you guys go subscribe to his channel, spelled just like on the screen here. Died in Morristown, a town important to the American Revolutionary War. Morristown. Wait, isn't Morristown the 201 area code? I think it is. I looked into this town before. Yeah, Morristown's the 201. Look at that. Morristown. And I got 201 in the chat right now. What the? Guys, what in the heck? Come on now. I just took a screenshot. I was just looking to see if Morristown was the 201 area code. And then as soon as I looked, I had 201 in the chat. Who grew up on 201st Street? This guy? No way. Where does it say that at? Where does it say he grew up on 201st Street? Fraley. Okay, hold on. What street did Ace Fraley grow up on? Ace Fraley grew up on the corner of Marion Avenue and 201st Street. So he was born in Morristown, which is the 201 area code, or the dialing code, right? Yeah, 201 dialing code. And then he grew up on 201st Street. I mean, this is funny, man. How did you even find that, Joseph? How did you even think to type that in? Did someone tell you that? Does his name equal 201 somewhere? Let's look. Excuse me. Let's look at well, look at this. This is all connected to the French, guys. My whole decode that I just did was relevant to this. The French and King Louis. You know how I know Morristown was the 201? Because I know Liv Morgan. Look, the wrestler, Liv Morgan, 201. I've showed this before. This women's wrestler, Liv Morgan, she always wore around this shirt that said 201 because she's from that area code. You see? And I've never seen anyone else wear around their area code in wrestling. This is of course, the person who's from the 201 area code. She's going to wear around her, because if you look up Liv Morgan, you'll see that she's born in Morristown. So this is the same city that this Fraley guy was from. Whoops. Hold on. Let's see. So she wears the 201. She's from Morristown. I mean, I don't get how you even thought to look this up, Joseph, but you're a wise man. So I want to see his whole name. Paul Daniel Fraley. He died on 10/16. I think I know something already. Look at this, guys. His real name is Paul Fraley. Well, that equals 129. 129 is 201 in base 8. See that? Base 8 counting. 129 is 201. What did Maggie say? What's 201 days before today, guys? Well, first of all, I need to figure out this 1778 or 1779 thing with Trump, but hold on. Let me just... Be crazy if it was 201 days after his birthday. So look, guys, 201 days ago was the 88th day of the year. So he died 201 days after the 88th day of the year. His name equals 88. So that's interesting. How about 201 days after today? That'd be May 5th. So May 5th next year. Let's see. Remember, he's connected to the moon landing, which the moon landing happened on the 201st day of the year, okay? His name is Spaceman. Spaceman. Day is 10/16. I believe the Jesuit order... Well, of course, the Jesuit order equals 201. Society of Jesus. Oh, what was it? I could have sworn there was a 1016. Give me 1 second, everyone. Ah, that's what it is. Ad Merum Dei Gloriam, the Jesuit motto. Ad Merum Dei Gloriam, the Jesuit motto, the 201 group, that equals 1016. Today's 1016. Sorry, guys, I'm not watching the chat. I got distracted. Sorry, hold on. What did you guys say? Drop your comments in if I missed all your comments. Apollo equals 201. Neil Alden Armstrong 201. Yep. It seems like the 201's big here, as it usually is. Morse code 201, the standard abbreviation 88 for love and kisses. Really? Ace was known as the king of the nighttime world and a huge Elvis fan. Well, now you're going to start talking about the king stuff again. Again, when I did this decode, I had no idea that this guy was going to die. I'm sure this connects to the king riddle. Kiss logo. What's the Kiss logo? Hold on. Where's the logo? Wait, guys, Kiss has the lightning bolts. Like in their abbreviation, they have the lightning bolts. Is that what you're talking about? Kiss logo. Yeah. Ace came up with that design, really? Lightning bolts, guys. Looks a lot like the lightning bolts on Charlie Kirk's tent, huh? I mean, that's what I think immediately because we just had Charlie Kirk. I mean, if you type in the Charlie Kirk logo, pretty close. $10.18 would have been too obvious. Yeah. $10.18 would be the lightning day. Luke 10:18. I need to look way more into this. Again, guys, I have to learn this stuff on the go because I don't know enough about the band or about the guy himself. Look at this lizard eye. So, I mean, I guess I'll try to have a decode out for you guys tomorrow on this if I find anything. And we've already found some stuff here with the 201s. But, I mean, unless you guys have anything else, I'm going to start wrapping it up here. But, yeah, I mean, anytime we get one of these celebrity deaths, it's always a big riddle. I mean, you can't decode them all. Elvis has a Spaceman movie come out in 2020. Yeah, I mean the Elvis, the King, right? I could have talked about Elvis in this whole decode probably with The Walking Dead. But guys, make sure you guys go back and watch my Walking Dead decode I just did on this in this video. It's super mind blowing, and it probably ties into what we just talked about here. So, and again, don't forget to hit the like button on the way out. That always helps the channel. Also, buy me a coffee link is at the top as usual. And yeah, until then, until the next decode, maybe tomorrow I'll try to put out a decode on this. But until then, I hope everyone has a great night. Sleep well. Get good rest, everyone. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. God bless you all.